October 4th, 1957, a date that divided human history into before and after. On this night, for the first time, Earth gained an artificial moon. A small object, just 58 centimeters wide, crossed the invisible barrier that separated us from the cosmos, carrying with it the dreams and fears of an entire civilization. Its metallic beeps echoed through the skies, announcing to the world a new era. The space age had begun. But behind this historic achievement lay the greatest secret military operation of the Cold War. An epic construction in the middle of the Kazakh desert that would forever change humanity's destiny. The real footage of this ultra-secret mission remained hidden for decades. What you will see now are recreations based on revealed documents and witness accounts. Some scenes were never filmed, to this day. This is the untold story of how the Soviets built a space empire in the middle of nowhere. Welcome to the Cold War's greatest secret. 1955. While the world lived at the height of the Cold War, something extraordinary was happening in the vast steppes of Kazakhstan. Construction of a secret missile testing site began in 1955, but this wouldn't be just another military testing ground. The Soviets were creating what would become the world's oldest and largest space launch facility. But there was a problem: how to hide an operation of this magnitude from the eyes of the world. The solution was as ingenious as it was deceptive. The name Baikonur was deliberately chosen to mislead the West about the true location of the then ultra-secret installation. The cosmodrome was built adjacent to Tuyuratam in Kazakhstan, while the small mining town of Baikonur was located 200 miles to the south. When Baikonur was built, it was considered so secret that a fake launch site was constructed 200 miles away to fool high-altitude spy planes. Imagine the logistics: building the world's largest space facility in one of the most inhospitable regions on Earth. The Kazakh steppes offered nothing but flat terrain and absolute isolation. Thousands of workers arrived by train, carrying not just equipment, but an entire city. Spanning an immense area of 6,717 square kilometers, Baikonur features 12 launch pads, 6 operational, 11 assembly and testing buildings, 4 fuel stations, a measurement complex with computer center, and an oxygen and nitrogen factory. But why there? The location wasn't chosen by chance. The latitude of 45.6 degrees north was perfect for launches into more efficient orbits. The isolation guaranteed safety, and the vast plains allowed test debris to fall without causing damage. Its infrastructure includes 2 first-class airports, more than 400 kilometers of roads, and a special railway line. It was literally a space city rising from the desert. But this entire operation depended on one man whose very name was a state secret. Korolev himself was classified as ultra-secret, and his name only became publicly known after his death. Sergei Pavlovich Korolev had a story that seemed like fiction. Korolev was saved by the intervention of renowned aircraft designer Sergei Tupolev, himself a prisoner, who requested his services at the Taskaba 39 Sharashka. A Sharashka was essentially a prison for scientists: work for the state or remain imprisoned. After the war, Korolev was released from prison and appointed chief designer for the development of a long-range ballistic missile. This man, who had survived Stalin's Gulag, now commanded the most ambitious space program in history. For security reasons, the names of key individuals in the Soviet space program became secrets. The world knew their achievements, Sputnik, Vostok, Soyuz, but the man remained a complete mystery. To achieve the impossible, Korolev needed an impossible machine. On April 1, 1953, while Korolev was preparing for the first launch of the R-11 rocket, he received approval from the Council of Ministers for the development of the world's first intercontinental ballistic missile, the R-7. The R-7 Semyorka wasn't just a rocket, it was a revolution. Its architecture of central core with 4 lateral boosters was completely new. Each booster generated colossal thrust, and when working together, they created enough power not just to launch a nuclear warhead across the world, but to send anything into space. But before success came failures. The first R-7 tests were disastrous. Explosions, engine failures, control problems. Each failure cost millions of rubles and months of work. But Korolev persisted. What the world didn't know is that this military missile was being secretly adapted for a very different mission. While the world expected demonstrations of military power, Korolev was planning something that would shock much more than any weapon, proving that humanity could leave Earth. Sputnik 1 was purposefully simple, a polished aluminum sphere just 58 centimeters in diameter. It weighed 83.6 kilograms. Inside, only radio transmitters and batteries. 4 antennas extended like metallic whiskers. But this simplicity was genius. The PS-1, Простейший Sputnik, or simplest satellite, was designed for one thing: to be heard. Its characteristic beeps could be picked up by any radio amateur in the world. Construction happened in absolute secrecy. People in the space room worked in white coats, executing each operation with the utmost meticulousness. The rocket was assembled in the great hangar. Silence fell when the chief designer appeared. October 2nd, 1957. Dawn. The carrier rocket was taken to the launch platform in the early morning of October 2nd, 1957. Korolev walked ahead, along with all the other chief designers. They walked in silence for the entire 1.5-kilometer journey from the assembly and testing building to the platform. October 4th, 22:28 Moscow time. The R-7 engines roar to life. Cosmonauts used pseudonyms. Mission details were classified for decades, and even the most basic information about launches was treated as state secrets. This culture of secrecy created an almost mythical atmosphere around the facility that persists to this day. And then the world heard. Beep, beep, beep. The sound came from space, humanity's first artificial voice from beyond Earth. The international reaction was electrifying and tumultuous, however, which the Soviets later capitalized on. The small Soviet satellite wasn't just orbiting Earth, it was orbiting world headlines. Sputnik was just the beginning. Baikonur would become the birthplace of space exploration's greatest moments. The first artificial satellite, Sputnik 1, and the first human in space, Yuri Gagarin, were launched from Baikonur. April 12, 1961, just 3.5 years after Sputnik, a young Soviet pilot named Yuri Gagarin would climb onto the same launch platform. The rocket, an evolved version of the same R-7 that carried Sputnik. Gagarin didn't know he was making history. Like all cosmonauts of the era, he used a pseudonym. His real name would only be revealed after the mission's success. "Poyechali," let's go, were Gagarin's words when the engines ignited.
In 108 minutes, he would complete one full orbit of Earth and return as the most famous man in the world.
Baikonur processed twice as many launches as Cape Canaveral in the USA. All subsequent Russian manned missions took off from there, as well as geostationary, lunar, planetary, and many oceanic surveillance missions. What began as a secret testing ground for military missiles became humanity's gateway to the cosmos. Korolev's R-7 evolved into the Soyuz, which still today carries astronauts to the International Space Station. Sputnik's legacy isn't just in technology, it's in the proof that humanity can dream beyond Earth's limits. A small metallic sphere, born in the secrecy of the Kazakh steppes, opened the doors to the universe. Although his health had been deteriorating since 1960, his death was a blow to the Soviet space program, a loss that in many ways was irreplaceable. Korolev died in 1966, taking many secrets with him. But his greatest creation remains alive. Baikonur continues operational, a testament that humanity's greatest dreams are born not from infinite resources, but from infinite vision. Today, when we look to the stars, we must remember, it all began with beeps on the radio and a man whose name was a state secret.